to Beyond the Ring, a podcast that covers all things in the stock show industry from the informative to the insane, starring Ryan Rash.
Sadly, there aren't many passengers on the train of thought.
And Dale Hummel.
The best is yet to come.
Now on with the show.
Welcome to Beyond the Ring. This is Dale Hummel, along with co-star Ryan Rash.
Hello, hello, hello.
Ryan, it's a good day here in Illinois. The sun's shining.
Happy anniversary!
Happy 1-year anniversary.
I know. Did you get me a gift?
I did.
Oh, good. What is it?
It's in the mail.
Oh, Lord. It's probably anthrax. Moving on.
Onward. We have current events that we probably should address prior to getting into our 1-year anniversary episode.
Well, the first current event and the most important, I want all you people to know that are coming for me on social media and all this other shit. Yes, I said before I posted my little vaccination card pic that before you posted your opinion, y'all didn't listen because y'all posted all your opinion anyway. I got my shot today, the first one. My arm has not fallen off. I'm still alive and I'm not speaking Mandarin. So I guess we're good.
May I ask about the second shot?
No, we don't want to talk about the second shot.
Okay, we'll leave that alone.
No, because I'm pissed. Like, I literally caused the scene. But, like, these little people in this town don't know me. Like, they think they know me. But anyway, yeah, I'm very angry. So I will probably end up being the most vaccinated bitch in the history of the world. But, yeah, so there you go.
And you have your little vaccination card half filled out.
Everyone in Crockett, I guess they just don't have anything else to do in their lives. So they're just here all the time. This bitch, not so much.
You weren't real available for your second vaccination date is what you're getting at?
They didn't give me any options. And if they would have told me that you only had like a 2-day window, they didn't even give me a 2-day window, 1-day window. It is today. I ain't going to be here. This is after they shot me up, by the way. But anyhow, we'll move on.
You know what this amounts to? You're going to wait. I suggest you wait 3 to 4 weeks, go back and start over again.
No, I'm going to be the most vaccinated bitch in all time because I'm going to keep going and like till I can whatever. But this next time I will know. And so I will pick a day that I see. And they don't even follow the rules. See, you got me started on this and you shouldn't. Like, says somewhere between as close to the 3 or 4 week window as possible. There is no whatever timeline. These people know you got to stay, you come back a month later. That's it.
And that's interesting to me because I spoke with a good friend of mine in Canada and he has his first vaccination. You want to know when he's getting his second?
I know people that's got theirs as soon as 2 weeks after.
Guess when he's getting his second?
When?
Not until July.
Oh, well,
because they're not getting many vaccines in.
I went on the CDC after I left this place and looked this shit up in case y'all were worried. But next.
And in all reality, you don't need to have it. I mean, you've got a big window. Big window. Very big window.
I'm just saying.
Did you explain that to him?
Yeah, I said I could come back anytime the following week. Nope.
Just like that. Nope.
Just nope.
That's interesting.
Put me on a waiting list in case somebody doesn't come for their second shot. Then they'll call me and tell me to come. I was like, I don't know what part of this you're not getting. I'm not here.
Maybe on the waiting list for when you were going to be there.
They didn't ask when I was going to be there.
And then that wasn't it, was it?
That was not part of this interaction. Next. Anyway, I'll get my second shot somewhere or another. Don't you worry about it.
And you get your card filled out because you could never forge or duplicate one of those.
They didn't ask me for ID, by the way. It's like not voting. You don't even.
I guess it's kind of like voting in Georgia.
Evidently, but.
Very, very similar.
On to current events.
I think we need to bring up, and I actually had this information last week, and I just failed to bring it up, but we do need to talk about Colorado Proposition 16, commonly referred to as PAWS now. Last Wednesday, the Title Setting Board approved the title for Initiative 16, Protect Animals from Unnecessary Suffering and Exploitation, which that is where they come up with the PAWS. Protect animals from unnecessary suffering and exploitation. This title bothers me, Ryan. I'm in favor of that. Are you not?
I'm not in favor of any of this thing at all, I guess. Like
I'm okay with the title, and that their sentence that I just gave you is probably all that 90% of the voting population is actually going to read. because this is a 3-page ballot initiative. You think anybody's going to go through and read 3 pages? No way.
No one is going to read 3 pages. No.
This was submitted to the Secretary of State.
No one's going to read 3 sentences.
No, a couple individuals. These are just individual citizens that were able to do this. This would criminalize some actions that are currently accepted in terms of animal husbandry practices and could have far-reaching impacts on animal agriculture, is their official statement. There is a process to appeal this to the Supreme Court, but it appears it's very costly and unlikely that the Supreme Court is going to do anything about it, because I think it's more of a technical formality they have to follow. It has nothing to do with content when they present it to the Supreme Court, so they may not even appeal to the Supreme Court. At this point now, if this act takes effect, April 1st of 2023 is when all these potential offenses that are being carried on by packing plants and people raising livestock will no longer be able to do it as they have in the past. It's that date and beyond. So when we talk about 2 things, there's 2 things that will eliminate, in my opinion, livestock production and slaughterhouse survivability in the state of Colorado. The natural lifespan having to be 1/4 of their life, and we talked about that a couple episodes ago, where you cannot harvest them until they live 25% of their life, and that 25% of their life has already been determined, and it's pretty long. And then if there's any sexual act whatsoever, and they define it's in the definition of sexual act, if you put an AI rod into a cow, that's considered a sexual act. Palpate a cow rectally, sexual act. Those 2 things alone, and there's other issues within this Proposition 16, but those 2 alone will end animal agriculture in Colorado. If you think this will not impact every aspect of animal agriculture throughout the entire country, you're wrong. So at this point, we have no choice. We have to educate the voters of Colorado. And this is going to be a huge uphill battle, because remember what they're going to see? They're going to see those words, protect animals from unnecessary suffering and exploitation, which I think is crap. And at this title board review, they did change the wording. I think there are 2 motions to change the wording that may have succeeded, but it's still not enough to, in my opinion, give clarification to the populace on what we're actually dealing with. So there's going to have to be a huge television media campaign, social media campaign. You're going to have to educate the voters of Colorado what this actually means if this is going to be stopped. So it's absolutely serious, needs addressed by the entire industry in the U.S. I promise you, if this goes through, and at this point, all they need is 126,000 signatures, which is fewer than if it's a constitutional change, but rather a statute change. So that will be easy to get 126,000 signatures. And once that is obtained...
Aren't there that many people in Denver alone?
Yeah, and Boulder. I mean, there's some very liberal hotspots there that they're going to sign this, and there's no question they're going to sign it. So if that's all that's stopping them, if they do not appeal to the Supreme Court, it will be on the ballot. And I am very, very concerned. As I mentioned last time, if this goes on the ballot, it's likely to pass if we don't have the largest campaign we've ever seen come together.
This is not good.
No, and it doesn't. If you think, well, I'm just showing a few goats or a few lambs, if you think that's not going to affect you.
This does not just affect Colorado. This affects the world.
It is serious. And you knew something like this was coming at some point. I just had hoped it wouldn't be now.
And then the other thing is, like, I know some people are going to say, well, that's just Colorado. They're crazy-ass liberals. There are crazy-ass liberals in every state in the United States, and they can get enough signatures to get this on. I mean, if this passes in one, it's going to be like dominoes that they're going to try to get it passed in every state.
No, there's no reason. And maybe it's easier to get on that title board and get the wording right in Colorado than it is in other states. But that doesn't mean it can't be done. And they will follow lead. It's absolute. When one goes through, it gives the encouragement to those others.
That's the whole thing. They're encouraged.
Oh, and I just don't even think the crazy liberals realize what this is going to do to our country. Not just to animal agriculture, but meat production as we know it. I have no idea. Do you import meat that's been raised inhumanely, in their opinion, then? I don't know what the solution or the answer is once this starts. I don't think there is one.
Well, what I think is the biggest bunch of bullshit is this whole sexual acts thing that you're talking about. So it's perfectly fine to AI a woman who is having trouble conceiving a baby, but you can't do that to a livestock animal.
I'm assuming that to be correct in the state of I don't know in the state of Colorado, but maybe it isn't in the state of Colorado, but it would shock me if it's not.
That doesn't fly at all.
I'm with you there. What about doing any type of preventative health, colonoscopy, I mean, there's all kinds of procedures on humans that would fall under this. You're exactly right.
That's
and
what
I
I'm
promise
saying.
you those are still happening.
That was just, I was only pointing out one thing there, but like all of that, it's all complete and total bullshit. Like,
it's bad.
I mean, yeah. But I bet that's on like page 3 of.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Exactly. 3 pages.
Again, everybody, if you don't think this affects you, well, you're wrong. So seriously, I think we should probably put up something on our Facebook if somebody wants to help, wants to donate, wants to get involved, that you know where to go. Because, I mean, yes, we're talking about it and addressing it, but we also we need to be able to give y'all information on how y'all can help. So we will try to get that on Facebook this week.
Yep. And I've reached out to some of the livestock organizations there in Colorado. I assume they're going to be coming together with maybe multiple, but at least a single place or trust we can deposit or send donations to. And we will get that information up on our Facebook page just as soon as we have that information. I think it's critical. And I think they're still in such early stages. They're not sure how they're going to address it, but they have talked about how expensive this campaign is going to be. And they're going to need help from more people than just in Colorado. And I promise we will get that information up where you can donate it. Maybe we just go with a GoFundMe page. I don't know, but we have to reach out. We have to do more than just talk about it because this is serious. This is far reaching. Speaking of serious, Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, suburb of Minneapolis. How's it going up there, Ryan?
Well, it's terrible because somebody got shot. And the cop was meant to pull its taser gun out, instead pulled the other gun, shot the person. It's not good. So, yeah, they're rioting and looting and doing all this other stuff. And I think that is terrible. I want y'all to know, I think it is terrible. And should never riot, loot, anything like that. Peaceful protest, yes. On the flip side, I'm going to say the fact that Joe Biden's unity plan is all a bunch of bullshit and not working and they're still rioting and looting, I get a little satisfaction out of that. I'm not going to lie.
No. It's bad.
Just a little.
Well, what's interesting to me is you have a mayor.
Because nobody rioted or looted before Trump was in office, if you believe the mainstream media. Nobody.
True.
Nobody.
Yeah. No Rodney King riot.
Nothing. That did not happen. Orange Man caused it all. That's why I get a little bit of satisfaction that there's still unhappy and people in the world and unrest and all this other, even though Biden fixed it all.
Ryan, I don't know if you watched the police cam, but I watched it, and she talked about the taser, bringing the taser out. She did. So they have him in the process of handcuffing, and he breaks away, jumps in the car to go take off, and she's talking about, I'm going to taser you, I'm going to taser you. You can see her holding the gun, and I don't know. I think she was flustered by him trying to resist arrest, jumping in the car. She grabbed the gun by mistake, and as soon as she shot him, she made a comment, oh my God, or something, I shot him. There's clearly, I truly believe by watching the tape, and maybe there'll be more details. I believe it is an accident, a very fatal accident, and I think maybe she should lose her job. She's already resigned for it, but I do not believe it was intentional, not intentional at all.
That's the one thing I'm going to say, and I haven't seen the footage or anything, but like, I think the fact that she has already taken the step to resign, she knows she made a mistake, whether it was intentional or otherwise, and she's taking accountability for her actions. So good for her.
Yeah, and I truly believe it was a mistake, a fatal and a terrible mistake. And I'm going to say something here.
Those happen, though, Dale. It happened.
Yeah, this is not going to be popular. When I go back and think about all there were over 100 police shot, I don't know, in the past X amount of months. It's terrible. We don't hear about that. Every time they walk up to a traffic stop, anything, they don't know what to expect. So with that said, every time I see somebody resisting arrest and then something terrible comes out of that, there is a way it could have been prevented, Ryan. They simply don't resist arrest. These things aren't going to happen.
Or don't do stuff to get arrested. Then, once you do stuff to get arrested, don't resist arrest. Yeah.
And this was a simple traffic stop, and then they noticed he had a warrant out, so they were going to arrest him on his warrant. And as they went to put the handcuffs on him, he resisted and jumped in the car. And again, I'm not saying there aren't police out there that are racist or prejudiced for whatever reason. I think it's a very small number. I think the majority of them are not. And I also believe that if we simply stop resisting arrest, we drop this issue of people getting harmed and fatally shot by 90%. Is the number I'm just going to toss out there if we simply cooperate. So with that said, may not be popular, but there's no way to deny it. It's a fact. Don't resist arrest, and I don't think a lot of these things are going to happen. This incident was terrible.
Again, I think we should probably emphasize don't do something to get arrested first.
True. But I have to be careful because I have broken traffic laws before. Okay, with that, the other interesting part, the mayor came out and had a little press conference, and he's talking about taking guns away from police. I don't know if that's a good idea. Obviously, we don't always need to use a deadly weapon in some situations, but wow, you take the guns away from police and the bad guys still have the guns. You want to talk about total chaos. It's coming. The other interesting thing, the city manager has been fired by the mayor because he made a statement to the press when asked about this lady, what he was going to do about it. He said, all employees working for the city deserve due process. Just a simple statement, and it's a very accurate statement. It is the law. The city manager's let go for following the law. I think this is a little bit crazy. The chief of police has retired. The lady that caused the incident, the fatal shooting, has retired. The riots are going on. It's a problem. I hope it doesn't spread much further than it already has.
I think it's all a mess, but again.
Speaking of that, I'm going to steal something from Sean Hannity, Ryan.
Uh-huh.
He may have a compromise. And I remember our St. Louis McCluskey battle that you and I have.
Yeah. You think that you should, yeah.
This may be a compromise that both of us could agree on.
Uh-huh.
There is a company out there that has a Bren personal security device or Burn personal security device. It's basically a gun that shoots a small ball that's composed of pepper spray and tear gas. Hannity says he can easily hit a target at 40 feet, and it's much better than a taser because we've got more distance to it. And once hit with this ball of tear gas and pepper spray, it blinds you. You're done. It seems simple. We have that kind of technology. Maybe we need to have those things on police officers. Heck, I would like to have one.
I do believe
that. Yeah, I think the gay can have you. I would feel okay with you carrying one. You would.
I would take that. See, I taser did not work out real well for me. I had one. It got taken away. I accidentally shot Daddy James. So yeah, I didn't get my taser very long. Oh,
bad.
Yeah. So
I think this is
this other thing.
This is a great idea.
Can you call Hannity and get one of those shipped to me, please?
Well, you know what? While Hannity
that
was
should be my
1
year anniversary gift. Duh.
There, I'm in it. There's going to be a waiting list. 160,000 people went to that website while Hannity was talking about this, and they generated in excess of $2 million in that period on sales. So there is a little bit of a wait now, and I didn't get to go on that website. I don't know what they cost, but I'm very much in favor of having something like that. I'm also in favor if somebody invades your home and is trying to harm your family. You want me to tell you what else I think you're allowed to do to them?
Shoot them.
Oh yes,
you've said that several thousand times still.
They don't need to be doing things like that, but something less invasive.
That was me just a few minutes ago saying don't do the things to get arrested.
That was. So I'm still okay with guns. I'm all in on guns. I think this is a great extra tool for a situation when, let's say, somebody's resisting arrest and running away because they shoplifted something. Probably shouldn't shoot them, but I'm all for shooting them with this. Okay. All in. I'm with it.
I want to talk about your brother Fauci.
Oh, I don't like him. I don't
like your brother Fauci.
I want to go on the record.
So now Johnson & Johnson's had a little hiccup with their one and done vaccination thing. 6 out of 7 million that took the one dose Johnson & Johnson have had some kind of strange blood clot, not an average normal blood clot. This seems to be worse. 6 out of 7 million. So again, I'm going to say that's kind of like the possibility of you getting eaten by a dinosaur. But anyhow, next. So he's all over that today. But before he got on his Johnson & Johnson warpath, he does not think vaccinated individuals should be allowed to eat indoors.
Without a mask on.
Right.
Obviously.
Dale, do you have anything to say about your brother?
I'm almost speechless. But that this man, I don't know where to take it. But when we're giving out common sense and logic, he did this. He doesn't have any. And yet he's in a position where people are listening to him.
I don't even know if it was this time last year that Fauci had even started saying we needed a mask yet. Maybe.
No, he was still saying no. Masks will do no good. No, not yet.
But yeah,
okay.
But now you've been vaccinated and you still can't go eat inside. Okay.
Okay, you've got my heart rate up a little bit on this one.
It's your brother.
I had a long discussion with this same friend in Canada that will not be vaccinated until July, and he's a very intelligent person, and we're comparing and contrasting Canada
Dale
versus
doesn't say
the US.
that about me when he's talking about me.
Okay. Canada locked down almost to the point where it probably prevented the spread. One of the few countries that locked down that hard. I think it was probably terrible, but they prevented the spread. They did fail drastically in acquiring or manufacturing vaccines because they're way behind every other country. But if they would be on the same pace as we are in vaccines right now, they probably would have pulled this off by locking down everything as tight as you can imagine for a year. Here, we locked down for a little while, which is really not a lockdown. Just like when we get on a plane, Ryan.
No, you didn't get to do anything in Canada. You do realize this. Do not say this was good.
No, I'm going to compare and contrast two things. I guess if you're going to lock down and truly not allow this to spread, you have to lock down completely. We don't take our mask off on an airplane when you're sitting shoulder to shoulder with somebody to eat. You go without eating for that 4 hours or whatever it is.
United Airlines, do not listen to this crazy man that's on the podcast with me. Do not.
Okay. What I'm saying is we kind of locked down. Nothing we did truly stop the spread of it. So if we're not locking down to that level, we need to throw the mask away, throw the social distance away, and just go.
I'm all
That's
for
what
that.
we may as well have done. We may as well have done that in the beginning, or you have to take the other side and you truly lock down, shut everything down to the point where it's absolutely miserable until the vaccine's available. But anything in between, I think, did nothing but postpone the spikes in the number. I think the same number of people were going to contract COVID, and unfortunately, there's a lot of fatalities. But I don't believe it could have been prevented whether you went wide open or what we did. I think you're going to end up with the same numbers at the end, and that's terrible. Very terrible. If you wanted to go to the extreme where there's a curfew every night, I mean, truly locked everything down where you're worried about how you're even going to get out to get groceries, something like that may have slowed the spread until the vaccines were available. I don't think it's realistic.
Don't
but
give
it
Biden
really,
any hints or tips.
No, in hindsight, one way or the other. Period. Done.
Well, that didn't comment anything on Fauci, but I thought you should know what your brother's.
I don't like
now.
Fauci. How's that? I do not like him. I do not respect him. I do not think he should be allowed to speak to the public.
What else do you want to talk about in current events?
Maybe you should address, and this is a little bit more in your camp, social media. It seems like there's a lot of breeds declaring Oklahoma City as a national show, and people are happy, unhappy.
Let's just get to the bottom of this right here. Okay. First and foremost, I do not care if you're going to be hashtag best 16 days in January, hashtag new tradition, or hashtag this thing is legendary. That's Denver, the OKC, and the Fort Worth hashtag. I don't care. We should all just be happy that there are going to be many shows for us to choose from next winter. And, I hope for some of you, I know this ain't going to work out for all of you, but I hope for some of you, you can go to all three of them if you want to. I hope for as many people out there, they can make at least two of them. Here's the thing, people. All y'all spiting and spitting and fuming and all this stuff on social media, it's not helping any of those three shows. So keep your damn opinions to yourself. Unless it is, thank you, Denver. Thank you, Oklahoma City. Thank you for Fort Worth for having a show in 2022. All the rest of this, let's stop. Okay? It's not productive.
Thank you, Ryan. The more shows, the better. Competition is good. It'll make everybody better.
All this other little childish recess bullying bullshit on social media, it's dumb. They're all going to have a show. You can pick and choose where you want to go. And I will say this, and some people aren't going to like it, and it's fine. The fact that most of the cattle breeds have announced that Cattlemen's Congress in Oklahoma City will be the national show for 2022, there's absolutely nothing in the world wrong with those breeds selecting that show since they were the only one that had a show last year. Rewarding them for allowing people to have a place to show their cattle last year, there's nothing wrong with rewarding that show with that. Most of those national shows, folks, they move from year to year, place to place. Sometimes Kansas City, sometimes Louisville, sometimes Denver, sometimes Fort Worth. This year it's going to be Oklahoma City. It's not the end of the world. They'll move again. But anybody that's going to tell me that Oklahoma City shouldn't get those shows, they're wrong. They came through.
Amen. I'm there.
I think the stupid childhood drama on Facebook over it all, not between the shows, talking about between everybody else, really needs to stop.
Agreed.
But then I have one other thing before we move on to the topic of celebrating our 1-year anniversary. So this morning, I was in a Snapchat conversation with a mother, and her child were having a very heated discussion over boots in the show ring. And she had always made her child wear boots in the show ring. So she goes to a camp. I'm not going to say what kind of camp, whose camp, whatever. But she paid money to send her child to a camp recently. And she comes back from the camp, and the people at the camp told her to not wear boots. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to say what I said to this lady via Snap on this program, because it would take the most bleeps. That is truly the dumbest thing I may have ever heard in my life, though. Dealing with talk show people. Again, I'm not saying you have to wear boots. I know lots of people that prefer boots. I know kids don't like to wear them. But to tell children to not wear boots in a show ring is, I'm trying not to cuss, stupid beyond belief.
That may have hit a nerve on you. Just a little bit of a nerve.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel it.
So.
Good. Are you done?
Felt that needed to be brought up.
Do you feel better about that?
I don't know, but I cannot believe that there are people that will actually charge and tell children that. But anyhow, moving on.
Okay, before we get into what a difference a year makes, I think there's some new listeners that we gain every day, and I think it's good to understand that for those that maybe didn't catch the first few episodes, that Ryan and I grew up vastly different environments. Still today, we're very different people. Yet we have found a great deal of common ground when it comes to youth, to stock shows, our political views, more than you could ever imagine when you say, well, environment plays a big role in all these things. Well, we came from very different environments and still agree on many, many things. This does not mean we share the same views on what should go on Snapchat, maybe. Maybe I don't agree with his views on the McCluskey family in St. Louis. But in general, on the things that we value very, very important, we see things very similar, which is wonderful. It's something that I enjoy. With that said, there's something else when I go into this, what a difference a year makes. And I've always had a lot of respect for Ryan, and obviously wouldn't have jumped into this project if I didn't have that. But the fact that Ryan has this innate ability to read people in situations like I've never seen. And this is hard for me to even explain as far as reading a person's character, reading a situation, whatever it may be. Ryan can be in a show ring and talking to the crowd and have a pretty good idea on who the grandparents are of the 1 and 3rd and the parents and all these things and what their thoughts are. Ryan, it overwhelms me how you're able to do that. And that's probably one of the most impressive things that I've garnered over the past year is your ability to, and I don't even think you work at it. I think it just hits you. And it's interesting to me. I find that very, very, very interesting. So there are times I do feel for your mother, Sheree, that she's had to deal with your stubbornness and maybe your ability to read people like that.
She doesn't like any of it, to be real honest, but it is what it is.
She may not. She may not. I know that there's times in Ryan's schedule and times in my schedule that when are we going to sit down and get this recording done? And our producer Clifton's a very busy person. So for all three of us to come together and sit down for an hour plus.
Every week. We have done at least one every week. And I ain't hating on other people, but I'm just saying, this is the only podcast that can say that is currently going, has done one every week, at least one since it started.
And it doesn't sound like an hour and a half a week. Doesn't sound like that much, but just getting the time to get three people on the same schedule, it's a challenge at times. And then we have the internet issues at my place and Ryan's judging schedule, and it's a challenge. Clifton has obviously family obligations and other work obligations, but we managed to get it done, and we're happy to do so. And you know what, Ryan? When I think about all of that and the time it takes
still
away,
have not seen any money. In case anybody's wondering,
yes, and that is exactly where I was going to go with this. So all of this is coming out of our pocket, basically.
I didn't even get a wedding anniversary gift. Nothing. I got nothing.
We're getting that gun, provided it's not over $50.
Oh,
so
okay.
going to that, and that's where I was going, Ryan. This is not sponsorship. We've limited very much for various reasons, partially because I don't call them back. But I would like to think that Ryan and I want to keep this as pure and as genuine as we can. I'm not saying that we won't bring on sponsors to try to cover production cost, but I think what a lot of people don't realize, Clifton can't do this for free and help us out and go to Oklahoma City with us to record and do those things. So that has been coming basically out of our pocket, and it's something that I don't have any problem giving back to the livestock industry. But what you need to realize, there is no profit coming from this, but rather a loss. And sometimes we'll get a message, can you donate to this or that? We have donated some hats and things like that. But again, when we're not doing this for a profit, it's difficult to send a couple $100 to every show in America when asked. So we don't always do that. But I think we will probably bring on enough sponsors and not overload it by any means, just to pay for some of Clifton's expenses and so forth. But I think all of this is worth it when I get a text or Ryan gets a message from a person or a parent that was so appreciative that they look up to, that their child now looks up to Ryan for various reasons, or I get a message from a show manager that, wow, I just didn't realize that maybe we should release the names of the judges, that it's more fair for everybody. Those small impacts that this podcast is making, and I hope we continue to make, no question, makes finding the time, the cost, all of those things, if we can make this industry better because of a podcast once a week, I'm all in.
I just think you should buy me gifts every once in a while. But the rest of it, yeah, I'm fine with. But
the gun, we're going to buy you the gun.
I mean, I'm just saying. But no, when Dale approached me about this, I don't know, Phoenix a couple of years ago, and he was like, I think this is what we need to do. I literally had only listened to one podcast in my entire life. I probably haven't listened to 10 podcasts in my entire life now, and I've been having one for a year. Because I don't listen to my own. I record it. I know what I said, and then Dale censors me, and people what happened here? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't listen. But, I thought it was a good idea. He never talked about making money off of it or anything like that. And again, it's just mine and his opinion. We have brought some people in to get their opinions throughout it. We'll continue to bring some people in, but I think the thing is that, again, there's a whole lot of people that agree with, I'd say, more than half of the stuff that we say. They don't want to talk about it because it's uncomfortable for them. They don't like being in a controversial situation or topic and stuff like that. And that was my thing from the get-go. If we're going to do this, then I'm just going to call a spade a spade. And Dale was good with that. And I think that if we had a live video feed on Dale at times when we recorded, he might curl up in a ball and suck his thumb every once in a while when I say something. But for the most part, he's been okay. And just like when I judge shows, my opinion is not right or wrong. It is just my opinion. That's the same with Dale and everybody that's listening to this. But it is an opinion that has a whole lot of experience behind it. And it comes from a very different perspective than most people. And I think that's why Dale and I work, is we are vastly different in so many ways, but in other ways we see things quite the same. And just to be frank with you, it's because we're both very honest and transparent people, and we don't deal with a whole lot of bullshit.
I would agree with that, Ryan. And you can, I hope the listeners right now can hear the transparency that you're putting out there. And if I have to say, we're going to title this, What a Difference a Year Makes, Ryan, there is no question from the time we began until now, and partially because we had a very important election this past fall that maybe didn't go the way we would like. I used to keep my political views very to myself or within a small circle, never on social media. But we had talked about this many times, that if we don't start speaking out, that minority that's speaking out much larger than the conservatives tends to get their way. But there's no question, Ryan, you've been contagious and have rubbed off on me. Obviously, I have no issue expressing my political view, promoting that political view, and even just general world issues or topics that are out there. Now, it's unique, Ryan, and I think a lot of people understand this. But when Ryan goes to judge a show or he discusses a topic, it is definitely, he's not holding back. He may hold back some things to make it correct for junior listeners, but in terms of his
mainly
thoughts
curse
and
words.
What's on his, yes, curse words is what he's holding back. But you're getting exactly what he thinks, and he's in a very unique position. Okay, and I'm not in the same position, but hopefully can be as transparent as possible as well. When Ryan goes out to judge a show, what people need to understand, or maybe part of this is his ability to be this transparent, is Ryan is financially independent. He's an independent thinker. Everything about him goes in a direction where it does not matter what he says or does in that show ring. He doesn't need to give another breeder a favor or an individual a favor because at some point there's going to be a financial reward or a payback or whatever. That doesn't exist. Nothing that Ryan does there is going to necessarily affect his income or his livelihood from that standpoint. What he does in the show ring, whether he judges another show, which is obviously something that he loves to do and work with youth, obviously it impacts that. But there's not, you can erase all the financial pressures that some judges have on them to do certain things to try to continue their livelihood. When I get on here and speak about something, if I wanted to get on here and offend every person that shows goats in the country, that'd probably affect my family's livelihood. I don't think that's something I would ever want to do anyway, but I am probably have moved from being very guarded and less transparent with a large number of people. Obviously, with the podcast now, we're reaching more numbers each day. But it's interesting to me that anything that I say or do is probably going to affect the way of life that my wife Holly and I have chose within the stock show industry to a certain degree, whether we're well accepted or not accepted. And similar to Ryan has people out there that'll line up to get his autograph or a selfie. And I'm going to guess, Ryan, you have people there that would just as soon walk away as see you.
Run me over, light me on fire. I mean,
yeah,
it is what it is. But
I think we even had one individual that told us how he very much disliked our current events here a week ago.
Oh, yeah, then that's fine. And again, I told that person that they're entitled to their opinion and it's valid. And on the current events thing, other people have said that. And again, just blow right on past that if you don't want to hear it. Because
hit that fast forward button.
As many people that don't want to hear it, we get 5 that say it's great and thank you. And we're the only people that they listen to for current events because the mainstream media is so biased and stupid and all those other things. So again, and I'm going back to this thing. We're not making any money off this, so we're doing
No.
it. We can say whatever the hell we want to, people.
We can, and I'm constantly getting messages about different topic ideas, and I want to encourage people to continue to give us those topic ideas. but occasionally we'll get somebody that says you have to do this or you have to do that.
I don't have to do nothing but live free and die.
And it may not be something that Ryan and I are even familiar with or have any knowledge of, and we just aren't going to do those things. I'm not saying they're not important and that they don't need addressed, but maybe we're not the ones that need to address it.
It's only been a year, people. We can't cover everything in a year.
And Ryan's had to come up with the last 20 topics the way it's been. I ran out a long time ago. Ryan just submitted another list that was really good, by the way. Just so you know, the next 10 are going to be pretty
in and I
pretty
got
impressive.
Creative.
I don't know what happened, but something did. Yes.
But
it's good. It's very good.
The whole point of this is to get information out. And I think there are lots of podcasts in every field, including ours, that are very informative and good. And I think everybody should listen to as many of them as they want to. I'm not going to be that person because, again, I don't listen to podcasts. But I know I'm in the minority. I think you should listen to as many of them as you can because I think there are a lot of great ones in this industry. I think our take is a little different, obviously, because I'm pretty funny a lot of the times. I think I'm funny. Most people think I'm funny. Dale does not think I'm funny. And we will go places that other people won't, mainly because I push Dale into those places sometimes. But
there's a lot to that.
But that's how it is. And it's like kind of, I put on Facebook the other day, if you don't want to listen to it, don't. It's okay. There is no law that says you have to listen to this podcast to show livestock. So, you don't like it? Don't listen.
Simple enough. What about some of your favorite episodes, Ryan?
I liked a lot. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I liked every guest that we had. I'm not going to go through and rank the guests or say, because I thought every single one of them brought something new and different. And not only because they were talking about different topics, but everybody's got a different personality. And I enjoyed all of them, to be real honest. I enjoyed talking to the kids that won Kansas City and Louisville and OYE. I know those probably weren't the most popular episodes, but I really enjoyed talking to those kids. And again, that's something I would like to continue to do. Maybe because those episodes aren't as popular, we won't do them as much, but I really enjoyed that. And even though a lot of people did.
And I think we got in a little trouble over which ones we interviewed and which ones we didn't, maybe at one of the shows.
At the show, there's only one winner. Yeah, can't help that. And that's how it goes. They don't call it a 5-way tie. But, of course, the Glowing Up Gay episode was extremely personal for me. I don't know if that was even in my top 10 favorite ones to do. I think it had a big impact.
Clearly, Ryan, and I know you understand this because of the outpouring of messages and calls and snaps and texts and every form of communicating how people appreciated that one. But I don't know that you fully comprehend, or it's hard for you to comprehend. And it's hard for me to comprehend because I know you better and I already knew a lot of the information. But I think it's when people listen to that episode and how transparent you were about your life and honest about your life, I think you really touched people. And I know it's hard for you to fully understand that, but when I visit with different people, that's probably one of the episodes that they want to talk about the most. So there's no question in my mind that episode touched more people harder than any other episode.
It's just really hard to bare your soul to the world when you don't have one. I'm just saying.
Got it. Now, not the most informative episode, but very, very touching.
Oh, I thought it was extremely informative in a lot of ways, to be honest. But
you know the other one that I have them come to me that they can relate to, because everybody's been there, and it seems through personal experiences, the county fair mentality just went over very well.
I think that one, like, probably everybody got it. Like, one part of that podcast, they're like, yeah, what they said. And so that one was a lot of, and again, I liked that one because I just got to just talk about stuff that shouldn't happen. And I like to do that. But yeah, I think that episode was one that somewhere in that episode, everybody found themselves in one of those situations like, yeah, that right there, that needs to stop, or I've been there and it sucks. And so, yeah, that was a real good one. I really liked the OYE live part because we actually got to be there. We got to see stock. We got to talk about it. And so that for me, I would like to do more of those. I don't know, again, because it's obviously way more time consuming, takes a lot more planning, a lot more money, all that other stuff. And there were some complications along the way, but I really like just sitting there looking at the animals and talking about them with you. So I enjoyed that one a lot.
No, and I think we should do more of those, time permitting, especially if both of us are at the show. Our wild card there is just Clifton's availability at that time. And then if we do bring a few sponsors on, that diverts some of that cost. So I very much enjoyed that, Ryan. And I think I am not saying what shows we should or shouldn't go to, but the ones that we can work into our schedule, and maybe ones that you and I are both at already anyway, it just makes sense to try to do it, provided the shows would like us to.
Those were 3 that I really liked. Which ones did you like the best, Dale?
I'm good with a bunch of them, and I usually I really enjoy just getting to visit with people. When, for example, we were in Las Vegas, Ryan and I and my wife Holly this past week for a couple of days. Ryan's judging a county fair just north of Las Vegas, so I'm out in the crowd and able to visit with different people, and they're going to bring the podcast up and maybe Glowing Up Gay or County Fair Mentality or whatever one, but it's enjoyable to get their insight, and sometimes they take a much different perspective of it than maybe what I would have thought or what Ryan would have thought. So I like a lot of them. I think one of my favorites, because, and you talked about this already, a topic that people just don't want to talk about is politics in the show ring.
Yeah, I think that's the most underrated one we've done, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm going to be real honest.
I think
completely
we put
underrated.
A spotlight on a situation that could destroy our industry, and it was appreciated by several people, but I thought it would be even more.
Yeah,
so
me too.
Those that are out there that look a bit deeper than others, when a show just doesn't make sense, it's pretty easy for them to connect those dots. It's no longer difficult. It's happening too much, and people are connecting the dots. And I think as more and more people connect the dots with the politic issue, those people hopefully will be pushed to the side. Our people hiring the judges are going to put a little more thought into it, and hopefully it cleans itself up. And I'm not saying that politics is in every show, and from county fairs to national shows. No, and more times than not, politics gets blamed on it when it's not the case. But it is real and it does happen. And let's hope that the people that are listening will do what they can to try to avoid putting judges out there that are going to go that direction.
Again, I think that was the most underrated episode ever. It was so disappointing, but I still liked it. I say we're going to do it again. There'll be a part 2 or something, and talking about things that are going to happen in the future and all this. And again, we want people to send us suggestions for topics. Not saying we're going to take everyone's suggestion for a topic, but please send them. And there are going to be times where, if you've been listening since day one, there are going to be things that have been covered that will have to be covered again. I can't tell you, every single week I get a request to do one on showmanship. And we've talked about showmanship at least on 5 different podcasts. We had a whole podcast about showmanship. It comes up in question and answer. And so for some of you that have heard every single one, there are going to be times as we continue this that you're going to be like, oh, well, they've already covered that. And I get that part and I understand it. But, I mean, it never hurts to hear things again. And so there will be some overlap like that on occasion. Talking about things I'm getting a lot of heat and a lot of flack for, we have not had a Beyond the Circus episode since the presidential election. And I don't know how many of those we did, 3 or 4, and they were different than the Beyond the Ring ones. But I would say that when midterm elections come up, we'll probably do that again. Or if something just really shocking happens. But that's why we have the current event section, so we can kind of get that out of our system and talk about it each week, because I think it is something that, even though we are all livestock show enthusiasts, we need to be aware of what's going on around us in this world. And so, but Beyond the Circus is not dead. For all you people that go, when's the next Beyond the Circus? When's the next? There will be another one, I promise. But like, it needs to be something impactful. We're just not going to talk about, Biden to talk about Biden.
There was another alien sighting.
Oh, God.
Okay, but Beyond the Circus, Ryan, I enjoy those. I really do. It doesn't take, we just get on there and talk about what's on our mind, what we think's going on, similar to the current events. And I very much enjoy the current events and get a lot of positive feedback. I don't know that everything we say in the current events is right, but by gosh, we wouldn't say it if we didn't believe pretty firmly that's where we're at anyway.
Well, it's all very well researched. Again, it's still just an opinion, but it's not like we're putting out fake news like the regular mainstream media.
Correct. There's a couple other episodes, Fitting the Judge. I thought that was one that opened a lot of people's eyes, that there isn't an absolute ideal out there, that every judge has personal preferences. And I think a lot of us understand that, but there's a portion of the population that doesn't go to as many shows, that maybe didn't completely. They assume that every judge is going to land on the same animal, and that does not happen. No,
other than county fair mentality, that's probably the one that I got the most feedback about. Like, so do you know so-and-so's type in kind? Or what is your type in kind? Or how do you find out that when you find out the judge at their county fair, how do you go about finding out, what their kind is? So I think that hit home with a lot of people. And, we said on one judge, two judge, three judge more, that we're talking about the fact that, even at national major shows, that the ones that win probably real good, but another person standing out there, that one could have been second or third. And I think a lot of times people forget that, but that's how competitive this thing is and how it's
the reality of it.
Yeah.
It's real. I enjoyed the very second episode, Ryan, that we had Matt Clays jump on, because I think it caught people a little off guard about how open and transparent we were with the drug testing in junior livestock. Not only should it be done, but it should be done well. And maybe a lot of the shows aren't doing it real well.
Yeah. And again, obviously that's a big part of my story. So I wanted to tackle that one. And that was your idea, but I was like, yeah, let's just tackle it right out of the gate.
Let's just get it done.
I'm fine with it. Let's go. His expertise and knowledge in that is just, it's truly mind-blowing in a lot of ways. And so, anybody that isn't utilizing him should probably see if they could, if they're going to want to improve their drug testing standards, or they want to start that at one of their things, because he is just so knowledgeable about all those things.
I think some of those shows that are drug testing without any knowledge, or a consultant like Matt, are probably doing more of a disservice than if they wouldn't test at all, because of not understanding everything behind it. So yeah, I hope they listen. And I think that one was well received by a lot of people in the show managers' positions, and hopefully they take that to heart. I enjoy Tom Burke's stories.
That was the one that I was going to bring up next. And again, I think that more people, and that was early, I think more people, when it first all started, contacted me about that one than almost any. And so he made it. He was a huge hit, I guess.
Huge. And I've spent quite a bit of time with Tom here in the last couple of years with our Argentina Angus project, and a week in Argentina with him. And I'm very partial to that, but the stories, the knowledge in this breed, and how he's dedicated his entire life, literally his entire life, every day, to promoting Angus cattle. I don't know if there's another person in any species of any breed that has been that committed and that dedicated to promoting such. I don't think it's ever existed.
Oh, there's no doubt on that. It is just the work that they have put into that, and everything that they have done to document all of that history is just
It's
it's
amazing,
wild.
overwhelming.
Yeah, overwhelming.
And I think in the future, Ryan, I mean, and Ryan and I joke about how we don't want to bring guests on and between ourselves. And there's nothing more to that other than we simply have to coordinate another person in there, and Clifton has to get with them to make sure we can get the recording to work. And it just takes more time, literally. But I think we need to continue to bring many of those people in that we've mentioned, and we've had a lot. Every single guest we've had on here. We didn't even mention Jumpin' Jack yet. We need to bring Jumpin' Jack back someday just to see how he's doing.
Jumpin' Jack just made me happy because they're young people in the world that actually pay attention and form their own opinions, and it's backed by, research and their own intelligence. Yeah, Jumpin' Jack made me happy. Real happy.
No, that was really good. And I think we need to reach out and bring people like him in. I think we need to bring specialists in that we've brought in, whether it's a show manager or somebody like Matt Clays in those areas that Ryan and I maybe don't have as much background or experience in. And we'll continue to do those things. And Ryan already kind of threw it out there, but don't be afraid to shoot us your topic ideas, question and answer. Ryan, the more the better. He would like as many of those as you can bring in.
Please, by all means,
he loves,
send the most
loves
questions.
getting hit blind.
Send the most questions.
Those are all good. I think we need to have one more segment within here. We kind of have our current events, our main topic, and question and answer. Ryan, I think there's room for one more.
And what would that be?
I seem to forget something every episode that by the next episode that I remember, oh shit, I forgot to bring that. So we'll call it the retraction episode. And I do have a retraction from
segment.
I had somebody call me this morning.
I don't like retractions. That's not a good term. Retraction means you mess something up. I am very seldom wrong.
Oh,
sir.
We did. We were both wrong on this one.
No,
we were wrong.
Don't believe.
Oh, yes. Are you ready? Would you like to hear what it is first?
Oh, God. No, not really. But go ahead.
So in our questionable trends or bad trends or whatever you want to call it, we talked about high-waist jeans. Both you and I talked about it one time. It was popular, and it appears to be coming back. Would that be accurate?
No, I see it a lot in the show ring.
Yeah, no, and I think it's coming back. And what was your comment? What did you did have a statement on this?
I just,
something about 60 pounds and 6 foot tall, it might work or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, if you're real tall and skinny, then they look good on you.
So this individual gave me a call this morning. He said he has a problem. And I thought, oh shit, what now? We said something inaccurate on the podcast. And this one would be a fact checking kind of guy. But it was one of our previous guests that called me this morning. He said, did you forget about Rocky Mountain jeans?
No, I didn't forget about them.
Do you remember those?
Oh, yeah. They were in every color and pattern known to the world. And I still think that either the ladies that wore those had assistance getting in them by like jumping off the roof of a building and landing in them, or they phoned a friend each morning. But yeah, I remember them vividly.
And I have to agree with this gentleman's comments this morning. He said those jeans made a lot of people look really good. And those were high waist jeans, I think, technically, Ryan.
I would not say they were high. Okay. Yes, the waist was higher on them than what the jeans that we're used to today, because now they barely hold on your hips in a lot of the fashion trends. But when I'm talking about high-waisted jeans, I'm talking about the real high-waisted jeans.
Like above the belly button type thing.
Yeah, where I would say Rocky's probably cut right at that belly button, but technically, if you want to get technical, they were above the waist, but not what I consider high-waisted jeans from what we're wearing now or when they were popular back, I don't know, in like the disco area.
I don't even remember when they were popular, to be honest.
I think that was the disco area.
80s, maybe? 90s?
Disco.
I don't know.
Disco is where I remember.
That was like 70s, I thought.
Yeah, so.
Okay, so those are all good, Ryan. I've enjoyed this year with you, and I know that we go back.
How could you not? Duh.
Exactly. And I don't know that our listeners realize this, but there are times that Ryan and I communicate when we're not on the podcast, and if there's something that I question, I don't hesitate to run it by him. I mean, whether it's about buying cattle or whatever it may be, And that insight that I talked about in the beginning of the program, I very much value your opinion, Ryan, and I appreciate you putting the time that you have into this past year. And hopefully we can survive another year without missing a week. We have talked it at occasion. Maybe we should go every other week, but as long as we have time to do it every week, I don't have a problem doing that.
Well, I'm just telling you and okay, Daddy Clifton there, y'all better get ready for like June and July because it's going to be a mess on my end. So
it is going to be a mess.
If you saw my schedule, going to be a little touch and go, but I severely want to do one every week. I will do everything in my power. And like, if I have to like shut down a show for an hour and let him take a lunch break or something, I guess I can try to do that. But
maybe we need to just pre-record an extra one for that week. We're going to have the problem.
Well, I said that when we started this, and yet it's never happened.
No, it hasn't, and I don't know
that we need
works.
to do like a generic whatever, and you're like, no.
You know, it'd be terrible though.
There would be no current events. That would suck.
Yeah.
And there would be no question and answer, which I would just be heartbroken over. But I have enjoyed it. I do enjoy it. And in all seriousness, Dale probably did not know before this how much I respect his opinion, even though we don't agree, especially on that form to function bullshit that I'm right and he's wrong. But on most things.
In a little bit of commercial world.
Yeah, all that. Yeah, you're completely wrong. But, and I told him when he brought this up, I said, here's the problem. I just don't think we're going to disagree enough for this to be interesting. And while I think for the most part that has been right, we still, even on the stuff that we agree basically on, we disagree enough in certain aspects of it that while the general thing we may agree on, we still see differences. And I do think that's probably why there's enough back and forth between us. But I have really enjoyed not only getting to know Dale, but also his family that puts up with him on a day-to-day basis. Much better this year. And while I love what we're doing and I want to continue to do it, I am always pushing Dale when we're not on here that I want to do more. And I've got lots of ideas. And my goal for the second year of this podcast is to implement one of those I want to do more ideas. Because I got one of them done in the first year. That was a live podcast at a show. And so I've got a lot more on my little list. And so my goal for this next year is to get to do at least one of those I want to do more things. And so, but it has been great fun. I have enjoyed it immensely. And what I have enjoyed more than just Dale and Clifton and actually recording these podcasts is all the people that have reached out in one form or another. And I mean, a lot of it is just trivial, and they think, oh my God, I can't believe I'm contacting you with this and stuff like that. There have been some heart-wrenching ones that have like brought my emotions to the brink of, I don't believe in crying. It's like Tom Hanks in that girls' baseball movie. There's no crying in livestock shows. But there have been ones like that too. And all the phases in between, I have truly enjoyed getting those messages or those snaps. Funny, serious, heartfelt. I even like the ones that bitch at me, to be real honest. Because they make me laugh. And so that is something that I guess I just never thought of would happen when we started this. That has been the nicest and the greatest surprise element for me. And so to all you listeners out there, keep snapping me, keep messaging me, all that stuff. Again, don't send your pictures of your livestock, but anything else, especially if I'm judging a show, but anything else, keep doing it. I know that I don't get to all of you, especially if it's on Facebook, because a lot of people don't understand this, but there's like multiple spam folders in Facebook. There's not just one catch-all. And so I try to check those folders as often as I can, but I forget and I don't get back to everybody. And for that, I apologize, but I'm going to continue to try and be better at it. But really, really appreciate all of y'all, not only for listening, but reaching out in various ways.
And Ryan, we can't end this episode without mention of one country.
China!
Thank you. And that has been my highlight of the current events, bringing the issues that we're dealing with China to the world, because I think it's gone to a certain degree by some of the populace unnoticed. But now the livestock world knows.
My favorite part of China was the little Scasta boy at OIE when we were talking to him after he won the steer show, and you said something, and he said, well, Mr. Hummel, all you talk about is aliens in China. That was my highlight. But anyway.
That was a highlight. And there was an alien sighting from some naval ship, I believe, here yesterday.
Good.
It's not
maybe they were going to
maybe
kill the Communist Chinese Party, like you keep saying.
We hope. I did see a little more information before we end here that meeting up in Alaska, some more, I read a little deeper into it, and China had zero respect for us, no longer basically calling themselves an equal, if not the world power, and we just need to deal with it. And they are, you mark my word, here in the very near future, when I say that, in a world perspective within the next 1 to 2 years, Taiwan will be a part of China. The Spratly Islands will be China, and they're going to continue because they know we're not going to do anything to stop them with this administration. That's bad.
So I guess it's question and answer time.
Would you like a question? I have only two. Only two.
Go right ahead.
And one of them's really easy.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Elizabeth sends in a question. First off, I listen to every one of your podcasts, and I enjoy learning more about the livestock show industry. Her question: when you livestock judge in high school, many times the contest will have at least one questions class. What do you look for / need to know when faced with a questions class?
What do you need to know when faced with a questions class?
I think she's wanting to know what should she expect? What should she look for? What predicting the questions?
When they literally anything is game from what I've witnessed and experienced, especially in those high school. I mean, if it's gilts, underlines, pin nipples, ear notches, I would think in all species you better remember all the colors. Sheep, if like hide differences, I mean, anything that this is real hard for me to answer because I don't take notes. I didn't take notes for all the obvious reasons. But like I would think anything that you saw on those 4 animals that stuck out, good or bad, I would probably note that because that's more likely to be a question. If it was something different than the other 3 out there, I don't like the questions as much. Which one between 2 and 3, which one was sounder, which one was... Because again, unless it's real obvious, there's shades of opinions there. But I think the questions in general should be more like, what was the red steer? Because if there's only one, then that's a fact. Everybody should whatever. And so, but as far as it goes, I don't think there's anything that's off limits. So it's really hard to give tips on that. But I do think more times than not, if you see something really different, good or bad, note that. And then if there are those questions between this one and this one, which one is heavier muscled or which one is this, and you're having a hard time, go back to your placings. And if it's a positive question, like between 2 and 3, which one's heavier muscled, you have 2 over 3 and you can't say definitely, probably go with your higher placing animal. On the opposite spectrum, if it's a negative question, between 1 and 4, which one was straight or shouldered? If you put 4 down below 1 and you don't know for sure, probably answer with the lower placing animal.
Ryan, thank you. And I think that is really good guidance, especially when you're not sure of the answer. If they're asking between 2 individuals and it's a positive, go towards the upper end of your placing and vice versa, the lower end of your placing. And we get lots of question classes here in the state of Illinois in our high school levels, and you have a variety of officials. So Elizabeth, there's going to be every type and kind of question that can possibly come at you. But I think when you walk up to that class, you're going to be able to predict probably 3 or 4 questions for sure. And then just like Ryan stated, make sure to get the obvious. Which one's the heaviest muscled, or which one's the longest bodied, or just if there's some that stand out, whatever grabs you and stands out, I think is going to at least get you close for the most part. I agree with Ryan. I don't like those subjective questions. I will get done with a high school contest that I took some kids to, and each time there'll be 1 or 2 questions that I just think, quite honestly, were wrong, because it is subjective and it is personal preference on how you view those things. Ryan, the next question comes to us from Steven, and I'm going to read it just as he wrote it. What is the name of the TV show and where can I find it? Is he talking about like Saturday Night Live or?
Right, yeah. I'm sure he's talking about the Big Royalty Show. And I'm going to tell him just like I told everybody else. I have not watched it on Discovery. I have been told that if you have normal cable, it is on Discovery every Tuesday night. It is also on Animal Planet, all this. The one surefire way I know you can watch it is by downloading the Discovery Plus app.
Excellent. And I did try to do that. I think my credit card had expired. That was on my phone. So it didn't work, is what I'm coming down to. But Ryan, it's been a great year. I really, truly do appreciate the time that you put forth. I hope our listeners enjoyed this year, and we'll continue to do this as long as we can, and as long as listeners are out there that want to listen to us each and every week. I appreciate it. I appreciate the time you've put in, Ryan. Clifton's in the background, listening to everything we say. Clifton, you're probably putting as much or more time into this than Ryan or I. Yeah, and it is appreciated. Thank you very much to both of you. Until next week, be safe.
Y'all come back now, you hear?